I don't know, but I just lay low. That's.
Yeah. Well, it's worked for you so
Like
far.
blurring out your face.
Yeah,
It's
you don't
worked
need to
so far.
pixelate.
Yeah,
Let
so
me.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was
It's worked
watching
for you
Minx
so far.
last week,
Yeah.
and whose face pops in for this one little thing? Jeff.
Really?
That was weird.
That's funny.
Little solo role.
I love it,
Anyway.
man. Jeff, Jeff's our chat room mod, so he keeps, he
Oh,
makes sure all the questions come in, so we see them. We have a rundown Google document that we use every week, has all the show notes, and he puts it in there for us to make it easy. So we're not like skimming the chat room for questions,
Right.
nice.
And but Jeff is an actor. I mean, he's on camera and he does a lot of shows, and he does a lot of the supporting roles, bit parts, but he's been working.
Yeah. Well, at least he was.
Put in the years. At least he was. Yeah.
Yeah, boy. Well, I got into a lot of trouble with Exelbirth this week. Boy, she is. You know how intimidating she is anyway, but we put out a statement at Wovo.
You're going to talk about this now that we're actually live?
Yes.
Okay. just checking.
She's probably watching.
In
which case, I'll just drop the subject.
Dan is the ultimate leave the microphone on the toilet guy. You got to watch out. You got to watch Dan.
Hot mic.
No, I don't.
No, I don't mean that literally. I mean,
Okay.
just speaking when you probably shouldn't be
What?
speaking.
Everybody doesn't have a toilet mic? I just keep one in my bathroom.
I'm updating the web page right now. I just put some title and a link to the YouTube channel in the web page, so that's done.
I just have the recording sign on the one bathroom. It's like you flip on the light, and the recording sign comes on.
Dan's bathroom is a history of radio or audio museum.
Yeah.
The sink is a repurposed side-by-side console radio where, one side was the turntable, the other side was the
radio
receiver.
Yeah.
This was like the 70s, 60s really, right?
Yeah. That was the radio that was in there.
Yeah, he took the radio out and he took the turntable out, and now there's a sink where the turntable was. It's great. It's cool.
That's a good idea.
Coolest bathroom sink ever. Let's see here.
All right,
so yeah, if you find another video I could pre-roll or run at the beginning of our segment, Judd.
Yeah, I was looking for something here, but I haven't found anything.
Meanwhile, I'm looking for tech stories, so you do that one.
Oh, okay. So you like a, yeah. Let's see.
We do 2 hours. So the first hour is our topic tonight, and then the second hour is just tech talk.
Yeah, voiceover tech stuff. So
Gotcha.
When we finish at the top of the hour, let's see how many people decide to join in. I'm still kind of like, what is it with you folks? I see 9 of you watching this show, but none of you want to be on it. If you're professional voice actors, you can't be shy,
They love being entertained. They love coming on and asking questions and watching, but they're afraid to interact.
Well, I'm glad we're entertaining them. Because that is the point, actually. If we weren't entertaining, we wouldn't have been doing this show for 12 years.
I guess so. I guess not, huh? Hopefully people learn something from time to time.
Yeah.
I am looking for some interesting new tech stories. I don't have much to say. Maybe I'll touch on 32-bit recording again.
Okay.
And that if you think you're doing it, you're probably not.
Yeah.
Like 32-bit float recording. It's like,
yeah, well, 80, yeah.
Yeah. You have to understand the tools. You have to know how things are set up. You have to understand how it actually works. You can't just, oh, I have 32-bit float. It's an option in Adobe Audition. People will see that and think, I'm good. They don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So maybe I'll talk about that. Demystifying 32-bit float recording.
Yeah, I mean, what's your noise floor? And it's probably most of those lower bits are getting used up on the noise floor.
Well, I'm getting Rode to finally send me one of those 5th gen, Rode NT1 5th gen. They have a new USB mic that does 32-bit float. recording, and I'm getting them to send me one so I can do some videos about it. I wrote the contact from VO Atlanta. His name is Ryan. I said, "Do you think you can get me one of those mics? You probably sent 3,000 out to YouTube influencers by now, but if you got one more, would you send one to me?" He said, "I think I could make."
You know, I mean, it's like, it replaced Jacob's 2020.
They are
USB.
almost. I would say in normal times it was almost impulse buy cheap, but not quite enough for me. Not right now.
Still a deal at $249. Though.
It's a hell of a deal at $249. Yeah. Yeah. 5th gen. Yeah, when I get one, I'll do a video about it. It'll hopefully demystify it a bit, because it is definitely another one of those demystifying. If you like, I'm still getting people saying, "I save everything as 16-bit MP3 and it sounds terrible." I'm like, no. I guess I got to talk about that too. 16-bit wave is not 16-bit kilobit per second MP3. Here's why.
Okay. All right. Now in the chat room,
all right, I got my
saying,
topics. We're good.
Okay, good. Yeah, in the chat room, people are saying they'll be on. Let's see, who'd like to say the Armand Henry. Okay.
Yeah, who wants to come on and talk about AI and what they use in their business? Who's got the guts? Anybody have the guts?
Man, whenever I scroll down in Reddit right now on the AI video subreddit, it just crashes Chrome or crashes Safari for some reason.
Whoa.
There's just too many. I don't know what's going on.
Whoa, that's freaking crazy.
It's just totally crashing Safari.
Wow.
So I'm having trouble searching for a better video.
Okay. Well, we definitely have some new listeners, which is great. Bettina, there's some new names in here that I haven't seen before.
Bettina's a client of mine. Let's see.
Inyan Igma Kantanka Bay. He's
been with us for a while, yeah.
Bettina, hi. KW Nelson, thanks for coming. Cool. Well, let me just make sure. So the website's up to speed. The Facebook is rocking.
YouTube.
Yeah, we also streaming on LinkedIn? Yeah, we are. We're simulcasting in 3 platforms.
Oh, man.
All right, and it's 5 o'clock.
I think we're ready to go. We're going to watch for Sue at the bottom of our screen, give us the hand signals to sign. So we're going to do, Justin, we're just going to do a real quick cold open where Dan says, "Hey, everybody." And tonight we got Justin. You're going to say, "Hey, everybody." And then we have commercials, a show intro. So you'll be off camera for all that. And then we'll bring you back on again.
Very good.
That. So, got it?
All right. Good to go.
Okay.
Cool. All right, here we go. 4, 3, 2.
Hey, it's time for VoiceOver Body Shop. How is everybody doing? Well, everybody's talking about AI. Good? Bad? How can it help you and your business, aside from perhaps taking it away? And we have a special guest tonight, Justin O. Hi, say hi, Justin.
Hello.
All right. And
Hey,
he, according to George, he's the expert on AI that he relies on.
In my little world, he
In
is.
his little world.
Well, you said everybody's talking about it, but nobody's doing it. I think it's everybody's doing it, and everybody's afraid to talk about it.
Sounds familiar.
So we're gonna find out what some tricks are tonight, and how we're all using it in our own limited ways, and even we might even get Sue to pop her face on screen because she's used it for a very good use case for her. So
absolutely. So if you got a question, throw it in the chat room. If you'd like to be on a little bit later on in the show and tell us how you use it or how terrified you are of it, put that in the chat room as well, and we'll try and get you on. It's time for VoiceOver Body Shop right now.
VoiceOver Body Shop is brought to you by VoiceOverEssentials.com, the home of Harlan Hogan's signature products. Source Elements, the folks who bring you Source Connect. VOHeroes.com, Become a hero to your clients with award-winning voiceover training. VoiceActor.com, your voiceover website ready in minutes. VoiceOver Extra, your daily resource for voiceover success. And by World Voices, the Industry Association of Freelance Voice Talent. And now, here's your hosts, Dan and George.
Well, hello there. I'm the very analog Dan Leonard,
I'm the partially digital George Whittam.
and this is VoiceOver,
Body Shop.
or VOBS.
BS.
All righty. Well, another week, another VoiceOver Body Shop, but everybody's talking about this AI. People are scared of it, but apparently it has lots of very good uses. How do you use it, George?
I'm very limited at how I use it right now. I know, and I'm having this show partly for purely selfish reasons because I want to learn. I was really hoping we get a few more users on, but we've got a couple that are using it some more than others. But for me, I'm using it in three distinct ways. I can talk about it more as we go on, but I'm using, first of all, I'm using a video editor that uses a lot of AI-driven tools to improve your productivity called Descript. And there are tools in Descript I choose not to use and some that I do like to use. But the key one that I use is it helps me speed up editing because it's transcribing everything. So it knows every word I'm speaking, and it will find when I'm saying redundant things. If I'm stuttering and saying and it will detect ums and let me remove them. When it finishes a video and finds 200 ums, that's embarrassing. And it will remove gaps in the video where there's long pauses. So it helps me very quickly do a sort of a pre-edit of a YouTube video or a vlog I'm doing, right? So that's one way. Another way I'm using it is in a new CRM called Close. Well, new to me, not new. But Close is a CRM that was really written for realtors, but hence the name Close. But I'm starting to use it for my purposes and better communication, better sales and marketing. And it's got ChatGPT baked into it. And it uses it on the back end for certain smart things that it does with your email. So those are two key ways that I make use of it, on any kind of a regular basis. I'm probably using it in ways that I don't even know I'm using it, for that matter. But then audio processing tools too, right? We all have been playing around with we've been playing around with Waves Clarity VX. I've been playing with something called Hush Audio app as an incredibly good drag and drop noise reduction echo remover. So those are a few ways that I'm using them. Dan,
How do I
how are you
use it?
using
I tell
AI
my
in your day-to-day life?
I tell my kids who are looking for jobs, have them write your cover letter and your resume and stuff. They know how to do it. Like I said, I'm Mr. Analog. I am totally old school. Doesn't mean I haven't used it. I had to write a speech for a presentation, and I said, write a speech for this. And it basically regurgitated back everything I've ever written about what I was talking about.
Right.
So, which I thought was rather interesting. But I haven't really used it very much. But then, like you said, who knows if you're using it or not? It's artificial intelligence apparently covers a very broad ground.
It's a very broad topic of technology. Sometimes we use it interchange it with machine learning.
Right.
But it's fascinating technology. I haven't heard recently. I heard that Sarah Silverman. Have you heard the story about Sarah Silverman?
I have not heard
maybe
the
Sue
story about
has.
Sarah Silverman. No.
She is going after. I believe is she going after Microsoft? One of the companies, because she said, "Listen, I'm seeing results that are coming from my intellectual property that I've written that to me looks like essentially plagiarism. And so you're using my content, my original creation, my writing from a book that I wrote.
Right.
And you're pulling content from the book that I'm selling and reusing that information." And she looks at that as copyright infringement. So she's trying from her perspective to fight against that. So I don't think she's going to win, but you know, there's people that are looking at it as a negative for sure, because they think that they're like, it's literally taking away my intellectual property.
Fascinating. Well,
Well-
why don't you introduce our guest? Because I've not met
Okay.
Justin before, and you know, we have to blur out his last name for some reason.
Well, Justin knows more about this stuff than a lot of us, which is why he likes to maybe slightly anonymize himself, because he said, I don't want to come up on the search engines from talking on this show tonight, which is totally fine. So we're going to keep him anonymous. But I've known Justin a long time, known him since childhood. He's always been kind of bleeding edge about uses of modern technology in business and in his different technical careers. He's I'll probably misspeak when I say this, but Judd is a computer engineer or hardware engineer. He knows how to build technology around circuitry and software, and has worked for a lot of different companies over the year. He's a hell of a good guy. He's a great companion for any outdoor activity you can come up with. He's always game, and he's a good dude. It's great to have him. And thank you for showing up to help us tonight and supporting us tonight, Justin. Here he is.
Hello.
Justin.
Thank you for that amazing introduction.
Well, it's fun to have you, man. This is a long time coming. I'm sorry. Thanks for doing it at the last minute to
Oh, no
help
problem.
us be a
Glad to be here.
voice of someone that's making a lot of use of the technology and just in your day-to-day life. So, what is your day-to-day life? What are you doing as a career at the moment? Because careers shift over time.
They
right?
do. Historically, most of my career has been in basically the field of embedded engineering, which
Say
is
that again, because that was the moment where the internet decided to poop all over you.
oh,
You
sorry,
just completely
embedded.
buffered.
Yeah, embedded engineering. So like microcontrollers, designing electronics and firmware, and putting all those things together. I started out actually working in the video and audio hardware market for about 5 years, and design high-end audio and video gear.
So you're someone that intimately understands firmware. Like
Yeah.
you
Yeah, I
actually
used
are
to
in
just
there.
spend over a decade or two now developing firmware and designing electronics.
Yeah. So firmware is how would you describe for people hear this word, they see something on the computer saying you must update your firmware, but what in a nutshell, what is firmware?
I mean, the lines are blurred as we get further and further, between firmware and software, what really is the difference. But traditionally, yeah, firmware was the stuff running on a processor on a circuit board that really wasn't really necessarily made to be updated back in the day. It was kind of like almost
Hence the
considered
word
part of
firm.
yes,
firm.
almost
It's not
considered
changing.
part of the hardware. You ship it and you never change it, and it should work perfectly. So traditionally, firmware engineers had to make everything absolutely perfect, test it, the bejesus out of it, so that there would never be any bugs. Of course, that's all changed. Started to change as I was entering the career, and now everything gets updated constantly. And
This is a prime example of
there's nothing
firmware
firm
devices.
about it anymore.
When you buy one of these things out of the box, like literally today, I spent an hour helping somebody just install one of these on their computer. And the first thing it does, brand new out of the box, guess what? Update the firmware. It's already out of date, so yeah, it's crazy stuff. So, so anyway, you've been changing careers, you've been changing cities, you've
yeah.
been kind of moving. How has I guess actually I wanted to ask something a little bit more directed than that, but really was you seem to know a little bit more about this stuff than I did from the get-go. You were a little bit more open to showing it to me and demonstrating it. When did you really discover the ability to do what ChatGPT does, or was it something else you discovered first?
I mean, I think in recent times, the thing that started piquing my interest about what was going on in AI was DALL-E, which everybody was talking about, DALL-E, which was a a fun image generation app or website that everybody was playing with and making goofy images that were AI generated. You could just type in any prompt and out would come some goofy, obviously AI generated picture that people, you could make some really funny stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that's
you
true
know,
for me too. Actually, I'm thinking about
I
that.
mean, before
That was
that,
probably the
there
thing.
was, other things you would, hear and about AI.
And that was like less than 2 years ago, would
No,
you
it was
say?
less than
Yeah, it
two.
was.
It was about a year ago.
Yeah, not. I mean, the transformation that's happened is just phenomenal, and
Yeah.
the abilities and capabilities are just exploding exponentially.
Yeah, my son used it to do a picture of my wife and added an extra piece of color to her hair, and then she went and colored her hair that way because it looked a lot better. So
Art imitates life, imitates art.
exactly.
That's so great.
But I
Um,
mean, it's been AI. The technology has been around for such a long time. I like did a little research, and there were people working on the idea like, nearly 100 years ago, really, of
really?
trying to simulate a little bit what the brain does, what neurons do, but doing it mechanically or electronically.
Yeah, like through like not even automatons or whatever, but just like trying to emulate the somewhat what is it like what the kind of the randomness of the way humans think occasionally.
Kind of like the relationship between nodes. Like there's like you can think of like the neurons or the synapses as kind of like each one of them is like a dial, and each dial affects the dials that are nearby it. And if you know how to tweak all those dials just right, you put in something to the one side of the brain, then something that you desire will come out. And that's kind of what, like sort of the basics of like artificial neural networks are.
Hmm.
Yeah,
It's like it's
sort
like
of like mixing music.
yeah, or it's like water funneling in the top, and then there's all these little valves, right? And you can determine where that water is going to go at the very bottom. I think like like that Plinko game. I don't know, really
That's
basic
yeah,
level.
it's a
Plinko is
decent.
totally random, but to be able to influence the direction the thing's going to go, and land in a certain thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Well,
you
hey,
feed in tons of information, and you try to get the result you want out of it, and then there's a feedback where you're constantly adjusting all those values of all those nodes to get
right.
the output that you want.
Yeah. So, what are three things everyone should be using AI tools for right now? What is something that is going to benefit everybody?
um, so I guess, I mean, as far as programming, tons of people are using AI tools for programming right now and for
Well,
generating code.
I'm thinking
Mhm.
like in our audience, the people in our
Sure.
audience are doing
They're freelance voice
they're
actors.
freelance,
Yeah.
they're
Sure.
freelancers, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
they spend, let's be honest, most of their time running in their business, training, and
Marketing.
looking for work.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's what most people spend most of their time doing. So, some things that maybe are helpful for productivity, organization, maybe acquiring leads, things like that. Or some things that you've used personally to try to help your day to day that you can recommend, just that you've tried.
Yeah, definitely. I've used it a bunch for improving writing. So taking
Hmm.
something that I've written already, or some ideas, and fleshing it out, or you can say, make this paragraph or this entire paper sound more professional,
Hmm.
um, or make it more accessible. Make it more familiar if you're writing a blog item or something like that, or make it more
Make it more
conversational.
brief.
Sure, absolutely.
Some of us
Or
have a
expand it.
trouble, yeah, or
Yeah.
expand it. Some of us have trouble keeping things brief. Other people have a trouble stretching things out to, they give you a lot of one word answers. So,
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
very good point. Very
Yep.
good point.
So it's very valuable if people learn how to use it. But how hard is it to learn how to use?
It's very, I mean, depending on how you get into it, the easiest way is most people are using ChatGPT and it's at its basic level, it's a free service, and um, you can start just asking questions. You can just treat it like somebody on the other side of a chat, basically.
And why
And
would you
it's a
not use
conversation.
it in place of a search engine? Because when it first came out, I was trying to use it the way I would use a search engine. What makes it a bad search engine?
Well, the information that it was trained on is in the past, for one. So it's not pulling in its basic form, it's not pulling information from the internet live. So it won't know today's sports scores, it's not going to know stuff like that unless, you tie it together with plugins that pull in that information.
Hmm.
Um, and it knows how to query that.
Hmm.
Um, but
So
you know
the data that it's pulling from to generate an answer for you is from the past. It's not current.
Yeah, and I don't know what it's current up to. I
Right.
remember the model used to respond, I only have information up to something 2021 or something like that. So
Right. Right.
basically a giant data set was trained on. And it's when you train one of these models, it takes a lot of processing power, like supercomputer processing power, and a lot of time. So it's not something they do every week or every day or whatever, because these models are too large for that.
Yeah, that's what's hard to wrap your head around. I think of a search engine like it immediately finds usable information, but that in itself is a data model, right? The search results are a data model because it had to find and build a model of all that through what they call crawling, right?
Sure. Yeah, and I'm sure they're
But the
employing all sorts
crawling
of AI tools to do that. Yeah.
and the crawling, but the act of crawling uses less computational power than building this model, I guess, huh?
I
It's
would
like,
assume so. I would
yeah,
assume so. But
because
yeah, I
they
don't know.
crawl like, I mean, it's not they're not crawling every inch of the internet every minute of the moment of the day, but that's
Right.
a fascinating thing too. But yeah, so when you first start using something like ChatGPT, a good place to start might be like, give me a meal plan for today or something like that. You don't know what to eat, type it in. Say, I'm a vegan and I want a good meal plan that is good for an athlete who weighs 200 pounds. Maybe that's something you could put in.
Sure. You could say, pretend you're a nutritionist and um, tell
Oh, you
me,
you just said you have to tell it to pretend it's a
you
nutritionist
don't
first.
have to. You don't
Oh, you
have
don't
to.
have to.
But by priming it with some information like that, it kind of narrows down the scope of the problem. So um, it can be very helpful to give it some more information to begin with,
Yeah,
rather than just like, here's my problem, you know.
right.
Um, yeah.
Jeff asked a good question because I like throwing out jargon and trying to sound intelligent. How would you
Okay.
describe what crawling is? What is going on when a search engine crawls the internet? Do you understand it on some level? What it's doing?
um, More or less just downloading websites and putting them into a giant database
Hmm.
that's more searchable.
Is it downloading every image and every video, or is it looking at just text and like metadata and stuff like that? Do you know?
I mean, I would imagine at this point everything, and maybe not videos at this point, but
Right.
maybe some are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how would someone use this, if they're a freelance person, freelance voice actor, freelance photographer, freelance any somebody who has to get their message out to large amounts of people without any geographical bounds or anything like that. What's one tool you could use that would assist you to do something like that?
I mean, you can a lot of people are using it for who have businesses are using it to create social media posts, um,
Hmm.
and create content for blogs for, just, you could say, give me 10 blog social media ideas relating to voiceover, and it'll do that. You can then say, okay, I don't like those, give me 10 more, or make them specific to microphones, or um, and it'll just, it's infinite, it'll just keep doing it.
So if
It's
um,
someone's like,
infinite.
Yeah, if someone's writing a blog, then you may never know if they're having it generated or if they're actually writing it themselves.
Absolutely. You know, but yeah, everything, the whole thing, you know, everything that comes out of it is probability. So you don't, you would have to check everything that's coming out of it and to see if it's fits what you want, you know, if the information looks correct and verifiable.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, we're talking with Justin, and we're talking about AI and positive uses of AI. If you've got a question for him, throw it in the chat room, and the actual Jeff Holman is in there, not a digital Jeff Holman, who is taking all the questions down, and we'll try and get to them in the next half hour. Also, if you've been using AI, some of these AI tools like ChatGPT and some of these other ones we're talking about, let us know, and you can actually come on and tell us how you're using it. So why don't you do that right now? Because we want to hear from you guys and see you guys.
Well, one of the questions I asked ChatGPT while we're getting ready to start the show,
Yeah.
how do I verify the veracity of the response I received from you? The issue with these tools is they do something that is known in the business as hallucinating, right, Chet?
Absolutely. Yeah. So like I said, everything's a probability. So in these like ChatGPT is under the category of a large language model. That's what they call them, LLMs. And the next letter, the next word is a basically just a big probability of what came before it and what would fit next, given everything that came before it. So, yeah, nothing's 100%. You know, nothing's going to be 100% correct or exact.
Well, it gave me 9 salient points. I can read them to you and for you. The first one says cross-reference with reliable sources. Double check the information provided by consulting reputable and authoritative services. Look for information from well-established websites, academic papers, or official publications. That's one of the 9 points.
Well, that's a good one.
That's a very good one to start with. Everybody has to understand that what you get out of the system is not necessarily accurate. And in some cases is dead wrong. And the most weird thing, start typing things in there about yourself. And if it knows anything about your name from the internet, if your name has been on the internet for a number of years, it may or may not know who you really are. Like, if I type my name into Google, it comes up with a lot of stuff. If I type my name, quote unquote, George Whittam, it basically says you're not really, I don't really know anything about you. But I did manage to get it to write about my website, George the Tech, and it's incredibly good at writing convincingly made up information. Like one section of it was like, sounds good to me. I was like, I would love for that to be true, but it's not. So yeah, you definitely have to be careful. And that's why I think we all have to actually do our due diligence when seeing stories virally spread on the internet, on social media especially. Do not take what you see take everything with a grain of salt. Verify what you read before, if anything, verify what you read before resharing it or sending it back out again. Because there's a lot of very, just plain truthiness, which is not the term that Steve Colbert came up. No, not Steve Colbert.
Truthiness.
Yeah, was it Colbert? Yeah, it was Colbert.
I think it might have been. Yeah.
Truthiness.
But yeah, I mean, all these tools make it very easy to create text content, especially, but also images and video now. Anything, comments sections. I mean, there's certainly AIs out there that are specifically trained to just spam comments to make up whatever, or maybe they have an agenda, maybe they don't. But definitely beware.
We've talked about ChatGPT, and when you go to ChatGPT, there is a free one and there's a pay one. So the free one's the version 3.5, the pay one is the version 4. Why would you pay for version 4? And do you bother? Is there any chat tools or AI tools that you actually bother paying for that you think are worth paying for?
I'm personally not that deep into it to pay for a tool at this point, but the as far as I understand, GPT-4 is like a much bigger, more advanced model, and
Mhm.
it can do complex reasoning. One example on a podcast I was listening to where they gave it like a list of random objects, like a hot dog and a laptop and all these things, and said, how would you stack these things so that they don't fall over, or so, and it was able to. ChatGPT 3 just kind of made a random list of. ChatGPT 4 actually came up with a reasonable sounding answer, and it explained its reasoning as well. It was like on a whole nother level, of virtual intelligence, basically.
Mind-boggling. Do you because I'm listening to the debate right now about whether we should absolutely be so afraid of Chat GPT and AI and generative tools, LLMs and everything else, that we should stop generating new tools, stop developing these things and reassess. Or there's the other side of the coin of the technologists saying that those other ones that say fear it are giving it too much credit. Which side of the coin do you feel you fall on in terms of this stuff?
I mean, historically, every transformative technology has met with a ton of fear. You name it, pick your technology revolution.
Steam engines, cars.
Yeah, yeah.
Computers.
I mean, the word Luddite comes from a group of people who opposed weaving. What do you call it? Weaving
looms?
machines.
Looms.
Right.
The looms, yeah, automatic looms.
Right.
And because they were about to take away, I don't know, 100,000 people's jobs. So yeah, I think it's definitely, it's out of the cat's out of the bag. I mean, you can make regulations and it will affect the big companies, I guess, but it will not affect the trajectory of the research. And there's thousands and thousands of AI models out there. ChatGPT is just one of many,
Right.
many, and there's so many open source ones that aren't, under some kind of corporate ownership.
Right. Do you see that these AI programs will start to write their own AI programs to defeat the other AI programs?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's already being done where, AI, the ChatGPT 4, for example, and I'm sure other ones are really good at generating code. I'm sure they're being used to generate the code for new AI algorithms. And then I think I did see a post recently about one that was able to modify its own underlying code. And this is what everybody's scared of, and then if it then has full access to the internet, then what happens when this AI goes
We get
goes
the
rogue, Terminator style,
coming back from the future.
Or the
Skynet.
AI Mandela effect or something, Like, isn't there an issue like where the data that is being fed into the machine eventually becomes data generated by the machine?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Now that
We
I'm
are
totally
getting some
freaked
questions.
out,
We're getting some questions from the chat room. Would you be comfortable trying to answer some of them?
I'll try. I'm going to turn on my light in here.
We're going to take a break here
dark.
anyway. We're going to take a break here anyway
Yeah.
while you do that.
Okay. No
all
problem.
right, we're going to take a break.
The sun's going down.
If you've got a question for Justin about AI, or if you want to tell us how you're using it, just throw it in the chat room and we'll get to it in just a couple of minutes. But we'll be right back after these very important messages, so don't go away.
This is the Latin lover narrator from Jane the Virgin, Anthony Mendez, and you're enjoying Dan and George on the VoiceOver Body Shop.
It's vacation time, just about everywhere. For example, here's Australian voiceover pro Andrew Peters on vacation in London recording a commercial with his Portabooth Pro. Why is the Portabooth Pro gaining users worldwide? Well, just listen.
Winter's tough. The rain, the wind, the cold.
Performers can capture great audio even in acoustically untreated spaces with the Portabooth Pro. Your microphone hears the sound of a human-sized sound booth at a fraction of the size and cost. The Pro accommodates large and long microphones, lengthy scripts, and e-reading devices. The Harlan Hogan Portabooth Pro is lined with Auralex studio foam. It's a professional quality sound studio that assembles in less than a minute. And its multi-pocketed carrying case makes it super easy to take your gear and your voice wherever you go. Order your Harlan Hogan Portabooth Pro now, just $389.99, only at voiceoveressentials.com.
Hey, it's that time of the show where we get to thank longtime sponsors and very long-time purveyors of audio technology for remote collaboration, Source Elements, the creators of Source Connect, and a lot of other tools. There's a lot of buzz about the next version of Source Connect coming. We don't have a timeline yet. I've seen a very early alpha version demonstrated to me by Rebecca, the director and the owner of Source Elements. And it looks like a really nice step forward into being a little bit more user-friendly. But in the meantime, the version that has been in use for a very long time and will continue to be in use for quite a while is version 3.9. And that is the version that you'll be installing and running on your machine. If you're on Windows, you'll be on version 3.8 because a 3.9 version didn't get developed in their development timeline, and the Mac version is up to 3.9 something at this point. But everybody is going to be using Source Connect 3.9 or 3.8, and all of it's cross-compatible, so you can connect to any studio in the world or really any other voice actor. And one way I know people love to use Source Connect to feel more confident about their studio's sound and their functionality is to have an accountability buddy. Basically, have a buddy who's also on Source Connect and connect with them before a session. Make sure you guys know that you're sounding the way you're supposed to sound. I was just talking to Jerry Pelletier, longtime client of mine, friend of the show, and that's what he does. He connects to a buddy. They check each other's audio before their day or before the big session, and they know they're sounding the way they're supposed to sound, and all the technology is working. Anyway, if you want to get started, head over to source-elements.com and you can get yourself set up with an account and go through all their incredibly good free training content. There's a lot to learn over there at source-elements.com. Thanks, and more spots, and back to Justin right after this.
Is AI coming for your voiceover career? Is it going to take all of your jobs? Man, do we hear that question a lot. And there's a lot of people that are fearful that the answer to that is yes. Well, I've been working in performance and technology simultaneously throughout my career, beginning in the 70s. And I've seen the incursion of technology, both good and bad, and I want you to have the facts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together a course, which I'm going to give away for free. I'm aiming for mid-August or so, talking about synthetic voices and what they mean to your future and your success. So it'll be at voheroes.com. I'll give you details as soon as we're ready to go. I'm David H. Lawrence the 17th. I thank you so much for watching and for listening to VOBS. And stand by. We'll get that course to you very soon.
This is Bill Ratner, and you're enjoying VoiceOver Body Shop with Dan Leonard and George Whittam. VOBS.TV.
Hey, David is a technologist through and through. He has always been. In fact, I think he's known or been on the show with Leo Laporte. Was it before Twit was? Like Ask the Tech Guys or one of those TV shows. David was on that stuff back in the day. So if he does something on ChatGPT or any kind of stuff, you can probably take it to the bank. It's going to be accurate. He knows this. He's a smart dude. So that's cool. I'm glad that he must have caught wind of what we're talking about tonight and made that spot.
He put that one out a couple of weeks ago.
Okay, whatever the case
still
is.
wants you to talk about it.
Perfect timing, David. Perfect timing.
So, once again, we're talking with Justin. We're talking about all this AI stuff that we're all hearing about. How can it help your business? Certainly, everybody out there is concerned about it taking their business, which is something I hope we can get a chance to talk about a little bit. It's a big issue in Hollywood right now because of the SAG-AFTRA strike. They're trying desperately to get the employers to not use it, and the employers are like, try and stop us, essentially.
Right. That's like asking a bunch of college students to not use it to write their papers, or high school students for that matter, or middle school students for that matter. I mean, it's nearly impossible to stop it. It's when you find a way to do something more efficiently and more time effective, and hopefully of better quality than what you could have done on your own. At some point, how do you constantly, how do you avoid, or how do you just choose to not use that technology to your advantage at a certain point? It's tough. Like, there's some purism out there. There's there's artisanal breads and cheeses and things that can't be made more quickly through machinery, and people still love that stuff. There is still live orchestral performances with real people playing real instruments. There is theaters full of live humans performing for you with all of their failties and their mistakes and whatever that happens live in the moment, right? The spontaneity of it. That's not going to be replaced for any foreseeable future. And if it is, it won't be replaced. It'll just be an alternative world of entertainment, You want to go watch an AI-driven chatbot stand-up comedian? Go for it. If you're going to choose to do that over a human, okay, that might be your thing. There are weird, creepy niches of the internet, corners of the internet for everything. So that's going to happen. But, there's always going to be humans wanting to have a human experience, listening to humans, watching them be humans, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and in some ways it might backfire with just so much AI generated content, shows, whatever, you name it. People might just get overwhelmed after a while and just want to shut it off. Just like, a lot of people do with social media or whatnot. And just it's time for the human experience again.
Well, that's one thing I love about you, Justin, before we get to some questions, is you are a technologist. You do love the technology, you embrace it, but you're also extremely good at limiting how much of it you choose to use. And again, one of those ways that you do limit that is by largely being completely off social media. Isn't that right?
Yeah. I mean, I browse a little bit, but I haven't posted anything in probably more than a decade or so.
That's mind-boggling. I mean, do you look, you've known me forever, you know my business. If I just decided tomorrow to stop posting, I'm sure you could come to me and say, listen, how many hours a week are you spending posting on social? What could you be doing instead of those 7 hours or those 12 hours or whatever it is, it'd be an interesting conversation, because there are times where I would just love to just turn it off completely. But we just market our lives. We create our branding. Everything is built on this thing.
Yeah,
for me,
absolutely.
Speaking for myself.
Yeah,
my business
it's a way to get out there.
My business started in parallel with Facebook, right? As Facebook was becoming popular, I was building my business on it. So it's so hard to pull it apart. But I find that really fascinating that you're able to do that. And anyway, bravo. Kudos to you for doing.
Well, I mean, my career doesn't rely on me being, an internet personality or anything like that. So, or being, accessible in that way. Whereas it's, your field absolutely does.
Yeah, but your career does require you to occasionally get useful information, possibly do a new resume, things like that. So you make use of these tools. Before, one more thing, I didn't get to talk about. Is there an art generative art tool that you find actually kind of useful and interesting to use, or is it still just mostly a goofy, entertaining process to experiment with?
Well, you showed me Diffusion B a long time ago, which was so Stable Diffusion is one of the art generating or image generating AIs,
right?
And that's accessible through various, I guess, but you can also download these models to your own computer and run them locally. So yeah, that's a lot of fun to play with. Just similar to ChatGPT, be creative, put in ideas, get images out.
If you want to entertain yourself, tell it to draw hands. It does some really,
How many
really
fingers
weird
you-
stuff around hands. It has not grasped hands yet.
Yeah. Well, we've
Should
got
we
a
get
couple
some
of
questions?
We
Yeah.
should. Carol Spencer Morgan. Carol, so good to see you again after a long time. Common question on the internet. Maybe it's some chat GPT thing asking it all the time. Will AI take over the voiceover industry and make the human element redundant? I think that's what a lot of people, at least certainly people in our audience, are saying. I mean, I don't think it's there yet. I mean, I see it. I see clients using it. And then I'm listening to it and I'm going, well, this client isn't doing themselves any favors. There's no emotion. It's not human. I can tell it a mile away. And I can generally tell video, some of these deep fakes a mile away. But apparently a lot of people can't. At least I know what I'm looking for. What do you think?
I mean, from my perspective, it's I think what David will say in that video he promoted will be useful. I think, and I'll reiterate, I kind of answered it, which is humans and the human element. What human does not want to interact with a human? I mean, there are humans. Let's be really straightforward. There are humans that don't want to interact with humans. I mean, that's just the truth. Some people are absolutely can't function in our normal human society. They don't fit in. They have a very hard time communicating. They feel awkward, introverted, whatever it is. And for them, this might be a much better experience for them. They may find that they have a more pleasant life interacting more virtually, right? So it could really be very helpful for some people. But I think humans in general are going to want to interact with humans and see humans being human. And this is another reason why I tell people when you're working on your voiceover stuff, do not over sanitize the audio. Do not remove every human element from the audio, because folks over analyze their own audio. They're of course listening in very detailed headphones and hearing every little mouth noise, click, nose thump, whatever thing that their face makes.
Those are the noises we make naturally. So
I want to know what a nose thump sounds like.
You'd know it if you'd heard it.
We hear all this stuff because people send us their audio and they go, "What is this noise?"
Well, that's a nose thump. Obviously.
Yeah, it's like when you say a certain syllable that closes the sinus or closes up part of the nasal passage. So instead of the air flowing through the nasal cavity, it kind of gets pinched off for a moment. And you get that or something in the audio. There's all kinds of little things, and anybody, if they look deep enough or listen close enough or slowly enough or repeated enough, will find something wrong. So, I one of my clients said recently, he listened to an audio. He's an audiobook narrator, and he is stuck in the same loop. It's the overanalyzing problem. It's the listening too closely problem, right? And he said, I listened to an audiobook the other day. I loved it, whatever. I decided to go back and listen to it again from an analytical perspective. So I listened to the first whatever pages or chapters of the book, and I was like, oh yeah, there's some mouth noise. Oh yeah, there's this flaw, there's that flaw, right? You as a human, by default, for the most part, filter out many of the flaws. There's certain things that will be distracting for you, but many things are not. And if you over sanitize, you'll start sounding like an AI voice, believe it or not. I've heard voice actor tracks sent to me that could have been an AI voice. I wouldn't have known, because it's so flawless, so perfectly rhythmic, and so tightly edited. It was indistinguishable from an AI voice because it was just too unhuman.
Right.
So
well, we were looking at this video before the show that's about some AI product, and it mispronounced it.
Yeah, I don't even want to, now we're talking about it, I don't even want to plug the company because screw them. But anyway, we found a video and the product ended with FY, like amplify, right? And the whole thing was narrated by a voice AI, of course. And the voice AI pronounced the end of the name FY instead of Phi. I just thought that was entertaining.
Yeah.
It was literally commercial for its own product that it was mispronouncing its own name.
Oh,
of the product.
that was just a theoretical product. That was a joke product.
It
Yeah.
was a joke
okay.
product. Okay,
Yeah,
fine. Okay.
just to not prove our point.
Carol's second part was rhetorical question. Where's the line between outsourcing our creativity as a species and becoming reliant on new tech? It feels a bit ominous. I would go back and say, when did you decide that it was okay to use a computer, to use word processing instead of whiteout and a piece of paper? I don't know. Was that ominous? I don't know. Jet, what do you think?
I mean, there was people who were afraid of the printing press because they were afraid that everybody would stop working and spend all their time reading books.
Well, you
I
know
mean,
who's
these-
afraid of us all reading books? We know who those people are. Like, there's literally a sector of society who does not want us reading more books. And this goes back to the 1400s, 1500s. There's always been a sector of society who does not want people to be more educated. So that's another weird, fringy fear factor, fear mongering, maybe even, maybe I'm being a little.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, the invention of the printing press brought out printings of the Bible, which people weren't allowed to read and interpret. So look at the change that one technology brought about.
Right.
And I would say for the better, except for, a couple of hundreds of years of war.
Yeah.
But that's just sort of part of what humanity is all about. Justin Ramos has a question for us. He says, George, correct me if I'm wrong, but did you mention you use a chatbot on your website to field questions?
No, but I have actually explored it. There might be a point where we offer a chat bot on our website that is fed a language model that's based on me or us or something. I don't know. I mean, I have some ideas of how to do it. In fact, Justin's helped me find actually some tools to put that into place, and we may someday do that. Right now, I don't have the time to invest in it. And if I did it, I don't know how I would roll it out. And it would probably be done on a very limited basis at first. But it's something I consider. But it is absolutely not it's something that we are using or making use of yet. You guys have all probably used a chatbot tool on a website. It's extremely common now. It's always like a little question mark or a little face in the bottom right of the screen. You click it and it pops up a thing and it immediately asks you what do you want to know. It gives you back pre-written search results with answers based on your question, like a search engine. And then it says, oh, and if you want to know more, click here or something like that, right? So they're extremely, extremely common. And if I can find a way to make it easier for customers that come to my website, get the answers they came there to look for, I might make use of it, but not yet.
Yeah.
And then for Dan, would you
do
use
that?
a chatbot on your voice acting website? So would you use a chatbot on your voice acting website? I guess the question would be like, well, what would you use it for?
Yeah. I mean, why would I need a chatbot there? It's like, I'm here. Here's my name. Here's my contact information. Come on down.
Yeah. I mean, you have to think about what are people needing to ask you?
Right.
What are you getting emails for that you need to spend your time to answer in a redundant fashion? Then I feel like that's where a chatbot starts to make sense. But as a voice actor to have a chatbot, someone's probably done it. I'm sure they have.
But I don't need anything like that. I just write down the same answer all the time.
Well, that's what a chatbot's for, so you don't have to do that.
Yeah, but I just copy, paste, boom, there it is. And modify it and customize it for each individual person.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Bettina Latarno says, hi, Justin. Thanks so much for all this great information. I'm a VO actor in a few languages, one of them being Spanish. A voiceover association in Spain is scared to death of AI. How can we have a diplomatic conversation on its pros as well?
That's what we're trying to do right now.
Yeah.
I mean, diplomatic would be another thing altogether, right? But I mean,
specifically, they might be asking about voice using voice rather than, chatbots sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, how do you bring up that subject with like in the voice world of things like voice cloning and just synthetic voice actors? That's a tough one. And I guess the positive spin on it is possibly people like voice actors licensing their voice and actually making money off of their licensed synthetic voice, so to speak. So that's
Right.
could
Yep.
be a revenue stream for
Could be.
yeah.
And some people we know are doing that. They've licensed their voice out. Much to the consternation of the rest of us, though.
Sure. Sure.
And then they're trying to come up with specific contracts that people, templated contracts for people saying, you're not going to use my voice for this or that. My voice is for this, and that's all it is.
That's why people want to control the use of their voice. There are many platforms out there where you can get your voice modeled and sold on a marketplace. But the big concern is what your voice is being literally used for. And a lot of those tools do not let you control it. The tool themselves, the service, whatever, I've spoken to one of them. They say we are very careful to make sure that the content is above bar, it is not in any way illegal content or inciting violence, that kind of stuff. But still, people are still concerned about their voice, their AI voice being used to sell certain things, right? So that's got a lot of people concerned. I mean, yeah, a diplomatic conversation on it, it's going to be a while because I think we just don't know enough right now.
Right. How is it going to be used in the future?
And I think that's why
how much better is it going to get?
And I think that's why and I've heard others speak of this. This strike right now is a really tough one because they don't know enough, and the
producers
don't know enough.
Yeah.
So they really don't even have like a clear roadmap. It's like everybody's beating sticks into the bush right now,
Right.
trying to figure out what the roadmap is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Justin, thanks for joining us tonight and sharing
Absolutely.
some of your knowledge on this particular subject. We could go on about this, and we'll continue to do so over the next 5 years or so until George and I become chatbots.
Until we're all
Yeah,
artificial
That's right. Yeah.
heads on the screen.
We could make AI versions of our show and have that. But I feel like a lot of the AI tools are going to be used to just basically distract from the real content, and that's, I think, one of the concerns. It's just going to be, it's just marketing to just draw more eyeballs into one direction and distract. So that's going to be interesting. Thank you, Justin. This was fun. We've never really spoken on this topic in this way before, and really appreciate you popping your head in. Thank you so much.
Happy to be here. Thank you, guys.
Lots of good stuff. Lots of questions. All right, we'll be right back to wrap this show up and get it re-racked for Tech Talk. So don't go away. Still plenty to come here on VoiceOver Body Shop.
You're still watching VOBS?
Your dynamic voiceover career requires extra resources to keep moving ahead. There's one place where you can explore everything the voiceover industry has to offer. That place is voiceoverextra.com. Whether you're just exploring a voiceover career or a seasoned veteran ready to reach that next professional level, stay in touch with market trends, coaching, products, and services while avoiding scams and other pitfalls. VoiceOver Extra has hundreds of articles, free resources, and training that will save you time and help you succeed. Learn from the most respected talents, coaches, and industry insiders when you join the online sessions, bringing you the most current information on topics like audiobooks, auditioning, home studio setup and equipment, marketing, performance techniques, and much more. It's time to hit your one-stop daily resource for voiceover success. Sign up for a free subscription to newsletters and reports. It's all here at voiceoverextra.com. That's voiceoverextra.com.
Well, here's where I get the chance to actually make a commercial fit into what we were talking about, which is AI. and it has to do with your website, which of course is all digital and all that stuff. But as a voice actor, you have to have a website. It's just part of what you have to have. You've got to have this internet footprint. And you want it to be personal. It's got to be you. It's got to show who you are. And my good friends over at voiceactorwebsites.com have a new website called voiceactor.com. Voiceactor.com. Go on over there if you need a website for your voice acting business, because they've created something that's really, really simple. Templated websites. Go in there, pick the stuff you want. It's real easy to determine what it is you can do. Change the colors, put a picture, get your demos in there, your name, your contact information, your demos, and make it look the way you want without going overboard. And you can get started for nothing, absolutely free. And then if you want to continue on and get yourself really on the internet with a really good site, it's $20 a month, and they take care of everything for you. Go over to voiceactor.com and get your voiceover website up and running now.
We are the World Voices Organization,
Also known as WOVO. We're the not-for-profit industry association of freelance voice talent. VoiceOver is a complex entrepreneurial business.
WOVO is there to promote the professional nature of voice work to the public, to those already established in their voiceover practice,
And to those who want to pursue voiceover as a career.
Membership benefits include
A supportive and creative community.
a profile and demos on voiceover.biz, our searchable directory of vetted professional voice talent,
Our exclusive demo player for your personal website.
our mentoring program, business resources, and our video library.
Our annual WovoCon conference. A fun and educational weekend with other members with the chance to learn and network.
Webinars and great speakers, and weekly social chats with other members around the world.
If your world is voiceover,
Make WOVO part of it. World Voices Organization.
we speak
for those
who speak for a living.
Yeah, hi, this is Carlos Alazraqui, the voice of Rocco, and you're watching VoiceOver Body Shop.
And we're back. All right. I don't think anything.
I got a question from my dad that came in via Facebook. Can I play it real quick?
Sure, go for it.
Well, if I could get it to restart at the beginning, it won't let me do it. I have to start from the middle and get to the end. I'll tell you what, I'll pull down the fader. No, you're hearing that too. I'll let it play to the end. I just noticed this. My mom sent this message in from my dad, and it was for Justin. So just because they're listening and they're my parents, I'll play it. Here it is.
Hello, Justin, Dan, and George. Do you think AI is going to get to the level where it's going to replace voiceover talent? Thank you.
Sounds like he used an AI voice to do that.
A little bit.
Just
He sounded a little stiff.
Yeah.
Loosen up.
Yeah, next week on this very show, we will be presenting Tech Talk number 107. Unless, of course, you're watching live at the moment and you have a question about your home voiceover studio, you can get involved right after this because we do it live. And then we show it next week. But we're doing it live now, so if you're watching now, you can actually ask a question in real time.
Are you following? You getting this, guys?
Yeah, I mean, be there. That's the whole point. Anyway, Tech Talk number 107 is going to be on next week. George, the .tech, you got discounts?
Well, yeah, we've been offering that deal for a while, but if you want to always see what the latest VOBS viewer discount for the being a viewer and a fan of the show, just go to georgethe.tech/VOBS. We have a landing page. So, yes, thank you for watching, and come on over.
Yeah, and you can find me over at homevoiceoverstudio.com, and we can talk about that all we want. Thanks to our donors of the week. We have donors. We've got lots of donors like Greg Cooper.
Thanks, Greg. That's a new name on that list, isn't it?
It is. It's a new donor.
I've gotten used to hearing these names in such a certain sequence. It was like, oh, a new name.
I just did it to mess you up, that's all.
Grace Newton.
Christopher Epperson.
Robert Leadham.
Steve Chandler.
Casey Clack.
Jonathan Grant.
Thomas Pinto.
Greg Thomas.
A Doctor Voice.
Antland Productions.
Martha Kahn.
949 Designs. We know he's watching.
Yes, A. Lee. Sarah Borges.
Philip Sapir,
Brian Page,
Rob Ryder,
Shauna Pennington Baird,
Don Griffith,
Trey Mosley,
Diana Birdsall,
Maria Mackis,
and Sandra Manwiller. All right. Thanks for doing that. You know, there's a button right on our regular page at vobs.tv. It says donate now. It helps keep this show technically magnificent, which is what we're all about. Anyway, you can also join our mailing list because then you get to see what we're going to be doing this week right beforehand. So it's like, oh, I have to watch this, which is why we have so many people watching tonight because we set it out in the newsletter.
If you happen to be one of those people that seems to exist outside of social media, good on you. This is how you can find out about what's going to be on the show.
Exactly. We need to thank our amazing sponsors like Harlan Hogan's VoiceOver Essentials,
VoiceOver Extra,
Source Elements,
VOHeroes.com,
VoiceActor.com, and WorldVoices.org, the Industry Association of Freelance Voice Talent. I'm obligated because I'm president and I have to say that. And because it's important. You should join. Our thanks to Jeff Holman for a kick-butt job in the chat room tonight and on various shows that I keep seeing him on. Like, holy crap, there's Jeff Holman. And, of course, Sue Merlino for getting it done with the switchboard and making sure that we're technologically right where we need to be. And, of course, Lee Penny, because he's Lee Penny, right, Lee? Yeah, okay. Anyway, stay tuned for Tech Talk. Get your questions in if you have a question about home voiceover studio technology and recording and all that kind of stuff, and we'll be happy to answer it. I'm Dan Leonard.
I'm George Whittam.
And this is VoiceOver
Body Shop,
or VO BS. We'll be right back with Tech Talk.
I can't believe that nobody has holy crap, there's jeffholman.com yet. You need to get on that, Jeff.
Really?
I just typed it in. It doesn't go anywhere.
Not even in ChatGPT. You could create a whole website doing that.
I know, just generating domains. I can't tell you how many I bought over the years. And then a year or two later, I'm realizing I'm not using that. I'm not going to keep paying money for that. No, just let it go. Let it go.
Yeah, me too. I can't believe some of the sites I have.
Oh, gosh.
But nobody else can have them. They're mine.
Yeah, domain squatting. Some people were really good at it. They actually make money from it. So.
Oh, I know somebody that made
a
lot of money.
You do know somebody, yes. You do.
Somebody who owned Tesla.com. I mean, TeslaDealer.com. I mean, it's like,
man.
He eventually sold that for a lot of money. Anyway, it's time for Tech Talk. Again, if you got a question, throw it in the chat room. And we're thrilled that you're here. So let's get rolling with Tech Talk number 107.
Cool. All righty. Here we go.
Hey, it's time for VoiceOver Body Shop Tech Talk. Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Tech Talk. Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Tech Talk. Tech Talk.
Okay, good.
He says it when I touch his head.
Okay, I know. This is Tech Talk number 107. More home voiceover studio technology than you could possibly handle in a lifetime. So we bring it out 1 week at a time, or every other week at a time. So it
limited doses.
Yes, anyway. If you've got a question for us, throw it in the chat room. And Jeff Holman, who you just saw spewing Tech Talk, will get that question to us. And we love getting your questions. So
spewing.
Just type it into the chat room, and we'll get moving on that. And, it's time for Tech Talk. So stay tuned. We'll be right with it.
VoiceOver Body Shop Tech Talk is brought to you by VoiceOverEssentials.com, the home of Harlan Hogan's signature products. Source Elements, the folks who bring you Source Connect. VOHeroes.com. Become a hero to your clients with award-winning voiceover training. VoiceActor.com. your voiceover website ready in minutes. VoiceOver Extra, your daily resource for voiceover success. And by World Voices, the industry association of freelance voice talent. And now, here's your hosts, Dan and George.
Hi there, I'm Dan Leonard.
And I'm George Whittam.
And this is VoiceOver
Body Shop.
Or VOBS. Tech Talk.
Tech Talk. Tech Talk. Tech Talk. Tech Talk. Tech Talk.
If you don't think we have fun doing this show, if it wasn't fun, we wouldn't
have been doing it for 12
entertaining
ourselves,
years.
we're going to stop doing the show. Trust me.
Exactly. Well, we have so much to talk about here, but what is it we talk about? If you're just joining us for the first time, one, you've missed 106 fabulous episodes of Tech Talk. But we're going to try and do another one right now and answer your questions and talk about some really cool tech. And what is all this tech about? It's about voiceover and your home voiceover studio. Something, the more George and I talk to clients, people who come to us pleading for help or saying, well, I'll pay you if you can help me do this. Not so much pleading, but asking nicely. Some of them are pleading. Some of them are begging, which is fine. It's nice to be needed. But we talk about home voiceover studio technology because, face it, if you work with a coach, generally we have found that coaches have no idea what they're talking about. They just say, go talk to Dan or George. They know what they're talking about. And why did they say that? Because we do. We've been doing this so long. I came out of broadcasting. George came out of broadcasting and recording and all the other stuff. We've been doing it a long, long time. And applying some of the old rules into modern technology was not a problem. When they came out with digital recording and being able to manipulate things easily within an audio track, it was like drawing with crayons. It was like, this is super simple. Apparently not for a lot of you out there. So if you have a question or you have a concern, or if you need to build your studio and have no idea where to start, there's two places you can go where you're going to get the right information. Number one is Mr. Whittam's place of employment or place of where he shows himself, and that is
GeorgeThe.tech. I spent an inordinate amount of time trying to make a better website, a better mousetrap, and a better set of services and a better team of people to help you. So you can book my time over there. All of my services now have my name in them, so it's very clear which of them are the ones I'm doing personally versus the ones that we have a whole team doing. So you'll notice that you'll see that my name attached to a whole bunch. So if for some reason you want me to do something specifically for you, then you'll see my name in the list. And if you're not worried about me being part of it, you'll notice there's a whole bunch of other services, most of them named for the product that they're about. Like if you have an Audacity problem because you updated Audacity for some reason, and now that thing you try to load won't load, or this button ain't there anymore, well, we got help for you specifically on Audacity from folks who really, really know Audacity. So you can book us all over at GeorgeThe.tech. And Dan's place on the web is
homevoiceoverstudio.com, and that says it all. If you have a question about your home voiceover studio or really want to learn how to do it right, I've broken it down into three major components, even though part one has two parts. It's stuff that nobody understands and nobody teaches except for me and George, because we understand it. Other people talk about it. Maybe they have some experience, but not some of the translated old school experience into how it's supposed to sound now. Or as we like to say, what it's supposed to sound like. Whistle. And you can reach me over there at homevoiceoverstudio.com. And if you have some audio raw, throw it in my specimen collection cup, and for $25, I will give you an analysis of your audio and hopefully get it so it sounds
so important.
It's going to sound like you. The idea of your home voiceover studio is not to sound great. If you're a good voice actor, you already sound great. The idea is to capture you as you exist. So anyway, let's get into the meat of the matter this week on VoiceOver Body Shop Tech Talk number 107. What's in George's tech update this week?
Well, I've been scraping together some stories and things that I thought might be a little bit helpful for you. For the longest time, I thought it would be really nice to have a pair of wireless headphones that actually work in the context of studio production. It's so crazy to me that there have been no studio headphones that will work for audio production in a studio. And the reason is the wireless headphones that you see are all for consumers, all using Bluetooth. Bluetooth doesn't necessarily sound bad, but Bluetooth has a serious issue with latency. This is why you can't wear headphones that use Bluetooth to monitor your own signal. You will have a horrible delay, and you can't use it for being in sync to video. So if you're trying to dub something or work in sync with something, that ain't going to work either, right? Well, finally, Yamaha decided, well, we should be the ones to make this product, and they are, and it's called the YHWL 500. I was checking out, let's go a little screen share just so you can see. It's actually funny. There's nothing really to look at. It just looks like a regular bog standard pair of studio headphones, right?
Looks like a pair of headphones to me, but that
yeah, it just looks like a
Yamaha
pair of
logo.
headphones. Exactly. But what makes it unique is, of course, that it is fully wireless. It's got a charging base that the headphones sit in when you're not using them, so they stay charged. But the thing that they're not showing pictures of, which I find weird because this is a part of what makes it special, is the fact that it has its own wireless transmitter. Where that thing is in these pictures, well, they just forgot to take a picture of it. But it has its own wireless transmitter that plugs into the device that you want to send it audio, right? And so that becomes a dedicated feed. So like, for example, you would plug that wireless transmitter into the headphone jack of your Scarlett 2i2 or your audio interface of choice, whatever it is. And now these headphones will run completely wireless, 7 hours on a charge with 4 milliseconds of latency. That means if you're monitoring yourself, which we often tell you is not a good idea, but some of you still do for various reasons, this will let you do that with a very, well, you won't notice the latency. You will not notice the delay that you hear of your own voice. And because it's using its own wireless technology separate from Bluetooth. So it's cool to see that happen. $350. I have no idea if it's worth that for these headphones. I haven't heard them. Yamaha's not exactly known for headphones. I'm sure they can make a competent pair of headphones, but I can't vouch for how they sound, what they feel like, etc. So if you do get them with a return policy. Buy them somewhere like Sweetwater where you know you can return them if you don't like them, and report back and let us know what you think of these things. But they also do double, though. They do double as wireless Bluetooth headphones. So they do both.
Which is nice. Okay,
Yeah.
Yamaha, send us a pair.
Damn straight. It will take a line in as well.
Yeah.
So it's a
Cool.
Bluetooth, line in, traditional headphone, and a wireless headphone all at the same time.
All on its own frequency, yeah.
Yeah. I was going to talk a little bit about 32-bit float recording and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about what it is, how it works, and why to use it. But people are hearing the buzz so much, and they're hearing so much about the new Rode NT1 5th gen microphone with a built-in 32-bit float recording capable USB interface. There's a mouthful. That they're seeing, oh, wait a minute. In Adobe Audition, when I make a new file, it says 32-bit float. I already have it, right? No, you don't. Yes, you technically do when you choose to make a new file in Adobe Audition, and I think even Audacity. The default file format, it may be 32-bit float. It may actually call it 32-bit float. And that's all well and good. But unless the AD converter, the USB audio interface, or the USB microphone you're using to record with is capable of capturing data in that way, all you're doing is taking a very, very big photograph of a very, very small postage stamp. Right? You're like at a huge format camera that's incredibly detailed, and the subject is a postage stamp in the middle of the frame. Little like that. That's all you're doing when you record with 32-bit float. It's a tremendous amount of extra wasted data with absolutely no benefit for fidelity. So if you're using 32-bit float recording, you have to understand the whole signal chain from microphone to computer and how the computer software you're using interprets the 32-bit float. So stay tuned, because I will be getting a Rode NT1 5th Gen microphone. I will be putting it through its paces. I'll be doing videos about it, and you'll know about it first here, because I'll be telling you all about it. And so you can understand, if you do buy one of these mics, how you're going to make it work in Twisted Wave, in Adobe Audition. Does it work in Audacity? I don't know. Does it work in Reaper? I don't know. Haven't tried it yet. So we'll bring you more information as we get it, because I want to do some demystifying around 32-bit float recording. Speaking of bits, 16-bit WAV files should not be confused with 128 kilobit per second MP3s.
Explain the difference.
Two very different things with very similar names, and they get confused on the regular. I had a client recently, she said, I've been recording everything in WAV. The client wants an MP3. I save it as an MP3 as a, she wrote, 16-bit MP3, and then I play it back in QuickTime, and it sounds really weird and bizarre, like I didn't even record it. It sounds terrible. Yes, there's a very good reason for that, because there are two different things with the name bit in them when we're recording audio, and they're totally separate from each other. There's the bit depth and the bit rate. So let's see if I can demonstrate this without creating a calamity here. I'm going to do a share screen. I'm going to try to share just Twisted Wave. That's probably not going to work, so I'll just put it over on my second screen and share the entire thing. That will probably work better. There we go. So I make a new file in Twisted Wave. We'll call it a 16-bit depth wave file at 48 kilohertz. Bit depth is the resolution of the audio, but you don't see the floating window, do you?
No,
You see an empty window with nothing
right.
in it.
You have to have the whole left left screen in there.
Let's do a take two on that. Share screen.
Don't make me sing "Girl from Ipanema."
Hopefully this works this time. I'm sharing the entire window. I'm going to do a new file. Now do you see it?
No.
What the heck? I'm sharing the entire window. At least I thought I was.
Well,
take three. Share screen. Chrome tab, entire screen. Entire screen.
Entire screen.
This should do it.
There you
worked
go.
great in rehearsal. And rehearse this crap.
Rehearsal?
Here it is. There's our new file creation settings, right? 16-bit. 16-bit is depth of bits. This is how low in volume it can capture before you get to basically minus infinity. How many intervals of bit depth can you get? That's the bit depth value, and it's 16 bits. That's the bit depth that is the standard that was established during the days of CDs in the 80s, right? It's still used very widely. We've kind of evolved a lot now into 24-bit recording for various reasons, and I recommend recording in 24-bit over 16-bit. So when you're done recording something, you record your voice, and it's all great. You hit play. Recording something, you record your voice, and it's all... Do you hear that?
I hear
it. It sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
You save it as MP3 for the client, and you go down here and you choose MP3, and you see this number over here, and you're thinking, wait, what's that number supposed to be? And you click and you change it to 16 kilobits per second, okay? What that means is we've taken the audio, which was very high quality, and we packed it into the smallest file known to mankind.
So it sounds like it's on the phone.
It's crushed into a tiny format, and in doing that crushing, the fidelity goes right along with it. So if I save this file, now here's what got her in trouble, and this can happen to you on Audition or really any waveform version editor. Let's just call this 16-bit test. Okay. Now I've saved this, recording something, you record your as a 16-bit MP3. Did everybody see me do that, or did I do that so quickly I nobody could see it?
Save as MP3. Okay, right.
16 kilobits MP3, right? Sounds great, right? Recording something, you record your voice. Sounds perfectly fine. So you send it off to the client, and you think everything is good. You did play it back, right? The problem is that what's going on in Twisted Wave is it's caching, or you're still listening to the temporary file, the WAV file, actually, that's on the hard drive. You're actually listening to that.
You got to go back and listen to the file you're sending.
You will not actually hear the results of that compression until you reopen the file. And that's where things went horribly wrong for our dear voice actor who went through this process, right? She reopened the file, and it sounded a little something like this. Recording something, you record your voice, and it's all great. You hit play, recording something. Pretty garbled, pretty cruddy, very, very low resolution, right?
Yep.
Got to be careful of that, folks. When you are saving MP3s, the number is not 16 bits. The number you're looking at is what's called the bit rate. Higher bit rates capture more data and give you better quality. The minimum that we recommend saving files at is 128 kilobits per second. And here's another news flash. If you've already saved the MP3 at 16 kilobits, you're done. If you didn't save the wave, the destruction is done. Oops. It's done. You can't undo it. You can't upsample it. It's never going to sound better than that file, right? So just be very careful. Know the difference. Make sure you're saving MP3s at least 128 kilobits per second. Do you send it anything higher than that, Dan, or just 128?
I send it 128. I've been, going back and forth at 4,800 kilobits per second with, as opposed to 44.1 kilohertz.
Yeah.
When you see the suffix PS at the end of something, that usually means per second, which is a reference to a rate, as opposed to just,
the quality of the bits, the bit depth.
How much resolution you're giving it. So
right. Yeah. So I just thought it would be good to mention that one. Last one before
something about SD cards.
When you cut a brand new micro SD card out of the package, I'm saying this as a PSA because I've done it. I had 4 of these. I cut them all open for a project I'm working on, not mine. So my client bought a bunch. Thankfully, they're really cheap. I think they're $15 for a 128 gig Samsung. These are the best ones you can buy. I took a razor knife, a utility knife, and instead of doing what it says on the package, which on this one has a pair of scissors cutting across the top so you can open it, I just took my razor knife and I sliced sort of underneath the card, right? Just sliced it out. Put the card in the computer. The computer was like, or the device I was using, it was a camera. Camera's like, I don't see any card, dude. And I was like, uh-oh. Is it the camera or is it the card? Because it was a brand new camera. Long story short, the back of the card is just basically paint. There's not a plastic housing on these cards that protects it. So by doing so, I scratched the back of the card with the knife, immediately ruined the memory card. So if you want to destroy a memory card, maybe it's got sensitive data on it, all you got to do is take a knife and score on the back and it's trashed. It will never work again, I don't think. But anyway, there's just a PSA. Be careful when opening your micro SD cards. Okay, Dan, back to you.
All right. It's time for my Dan's Basic Basics. George and I get a lot of questions from people saying, what mic should I have? But what's worse is when somebody's like, I'm starting off in VO and I bought this mic. And because it was expensive.
I was going to say, and it's often probably much more than $500.
Oh, yes. So generally, and I'm still trying to figure out who keeps recommending these things. Just because someone uses it in their studio doesn't mean you should be using it. There's a reason for that. So I have a little PowerPoint here thing. Then let me share my PowerPoint. Sure. Window. There we go. Boom. All right. Hopefully you can see all those things because
it's trying.
Yeah. Can you see
It's
that?
trying. Right now we're seeing like a little slowly. Oh, there we go. Got it.
Okay. All right. Here's one that somebody was complaining about this mic the other day. This is the Sphere DLX. This is a mic that you can model with and all that stuff. If you're a geek and you're someone who likes working with this stuff and playing around with sound, that's great. It's got nothing to do with voiceover. It really doesn't. But, there can be some utility, but having the equipment is not the same as knowing how to use it. And in order to do all this mic modeling and stuff like that, you have to know what the other mics sound like. So, not a really great idea. And this thing is $1,500. Okay? Then there's this guy, the Neumann U87. Oh, this thing makes me sound great. Fine. Every voice is different. Every room is different. You get a mic like this for $3,600, $3,700, it's going to hear everything. And if you're in people are setting up home studios in their closets and setting up, PVC booths, which are fabulous if you're in a quiet room. If there is any noise at all, this guy is going to pick it up. That's what you're paying for when you spend $3,695 for a microphone. Or this guy, the TLM 103, very, very popular with voiceover people. It's $1,100. I mean, you can get it for under $1,000. But is it a great microphone? Absolutely. Is it something a lot of people use? Yes. However, if you don't know how to use one or why, it's not a really good idea. Then there's this one. Let me go back there. Boom.
414?
Yeah, the 414.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, the 414. See, now we just have to run through all these again. Okay. Then this one and this one.
We're just seeing two slides. That's all we see, I think.
That's right. Okay, right. So here's the AKG C414. This is a mic that is legendary. If you watch old Pink Floyd movies, this is what they were using. That and some other interesting stuff.
Oh, click on your screen. Click on the other slide because we're only seeing the 4 microphone slide right now.
That's the one I'm showing you.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the 214.
No,
Sorry.
no. I'm still talking about the 414.
Gotcha.
$1,400. Is it a great mic? Yes.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about all of these guys. Not one of them in any way, shape, or form will change the way you read copy. I don't get, this is going to make me sound great. I don't think it matters because you can probably get just as good a sound with one of these guys. There's the C214 for $500. It's the same capsule and the same electronics as the 414. It just doesn't have changes in patterns and a pad on it and all that stuff that is important in the environment that a 414 would be used in, which is a professional recording studio that is acoustically sterile and neutral. Mm-hmm. Unlike your closet, which is you're going to hear hangers rolling and the air conditioning going on and all those sorts of things. $500 you can get a mic that sounds just like a 414 because it is a 414 without all the other bells and whistles. And then George was talking just before about this guy, the Rode NT1 5th generation.
We're still seeing the other slide for some reason.
You're still seeing the other slide?
Yeah.
Okay. Why is that?
Well, I don't know. Just reshare with the 2 microphones slide and maybe we'll see.
You mean that one?
There we go. Yeah, it was stuck or something. Got it.
Okay. Yeah. Technology's not perfect. Anyway, this is the 214 over here for $479.
That's going up in price. If that's $479, that's going up in price a lot.
That was off of the website of the leading retailer of these things this afternoon. So how do you like them apples?
Mm-hmm.
But for $269, we've seen it as low as $249. This is the Rode NT1 5th Gen. It does the 32-bit float thing that George was just talking about a little while ago. It will take USB, so it makes a great, quote, Rode mic.
ROAD.
Yes, ROAD, exactly. And it will obviously be very easy to use because you can plug it in USB, run the 32-bit float thing, which is still a whole nother discussion. But the NT1, and when George and I checked this out when we were at VO Atlanta, it was like, this sounds even better than the old NT1. It just clean, crisp. Rode makes a microphone that is very, very quiet. And this is what we've been recommending to a lot of people. If you have an interface, it will also work with an XLR. And but it
I
also
think most people are going to use it that way.
Yeah, a lot of people
in traditional way.
Right, but you have the capability to use it the other way.
Yep.
And once you understand and learn how that works, this thing I think is going to be we both think it's a real game changer when it comes to voiceover mics. If you're just starting out and you want a nice mic that is not going to color your voice at all or add any noise or pick up every sound around, including a couple of cockroaches, cowering in the corner, that's what you want, is one of these. But also really important, if you're using a Rode mic, talk to the gold dot. Do not
talk to the dot.
Talk to them. God, it's been happening all week.
That mic is one of the most often misaimed or misdirected studio mics. It's amazing how often people have that the wrong way.
Yeah, I know. And it usually it throws us for a second. It's like, wow, boy, that sounds like crap. And then you're like, what side are you talking to the logo? And they flip it around and like, oh, I mean, because, you talk to the wrong side, you get that.
That's what it sounds like.
Why are the acoustics so bad? Because you're talking into the wrong side of the mic. Anyway, so, yeah, you don't have to have an expensive mic. Don't let anyone convince you that the more expensive mic, it's going to get you more gigs. It's nonsense. What's going to get you more gigs in voiceover is proper training, good acting, improv, and making yourself sound different from everybody else. Not making yourself, highlighting what is different about your voice. That's what sells. It's not the microphone. Is it nice to have a nice microphone? Yes. But as I always say, if you're going to drive a Ferrari, you got to have a really nice garage for it.
Right.
And you've got to have the right acoustical properties in order to use a professional microphone like this one or the one that George is using. What are you using tonight?
This is the Earthworks Ethos, which definitely falls out of the usual idea of what a studio mic might be. This was really kind of marketed towards the podcast, video person, but I did do a whole video about it, and I used it inside a booth for comparison and context, and I was really amazed at how good it sounds as a studio mic, even though it's really not considered one. But that's what I have right now in front of me.
Okay, price point on that?
$360, $369, $379.
Right.
Like, they lowered the price dramatically. This was originally a $699 mic.
Wow.
So this is one of those rare cases where the mic price went down, way down, actually. Fascinating.
Right. Anti-inflation. All right.
Yeah.
Or what we refer to as deflation. All righty, we're going to take a break. We're going to answer your questions. You still have time to throw yours in there. If you've got a question about your home voiceover studio equipment or the sound or any of these things, throw it in the chat room right now. We'll get to it right after these important messages, so don't go away.
This is Ariana Ratner, and you're enjoying VoiceOver Body Shop with Dan Leonard and George Whittam. VOBS.TV.
It's vacation time, just about everywhere. For example, here's Australian voiceover pro Andrew Peters on vacation in London recording a commercial with his Portabooth Pro. Why is the Portabooth Pro gaining users worldwide? Well, just listen.
Winter's tough. The rain, the wind, the cold.
Performers can capture great audio even in acoustically untreated spaces with the Portabooth Pro. Your microphone hears the sound of a human-sized sound booth at a fraction of the size and cost. The Pro accommodates large and long microphones, lengthy scripts, and e-reading devices. The Harlan Hogan Portabooth Pro is lined with Auralex studio foam. It's a professional quality sound studio that assembles in less than a minute. And its multi-pocketed carrying case makes it super easy to take your gear and your voice wherever you go. Order your Harlan Hogan Portabooth Pro now. Just $389.99. Only at voiceoveressentials.com.
Hey, guys. Sorry, I was multitasking. This is our time of the show where we talk about Source Elements, the creators of Source Connect. I won't drag this on. You guys have been viewers forever. You know what Source Connect does. Connects you to studios around the world. Just get familiar with it. Get comfortable with it. Have it in your arsenal of tools. It will elevate your branding to have Source Connect in your toolbox. Trust me. Not like having an expensive microphone will, but having a connection like this that is what the top studios and producers use is a no-brainer. Probably will pay for itself if you get the subscription, the monthly subscription. It'll pay for itself in just the exposure to clients that it gives you, because you're now in a database searchable for getting more gigs, and you're just going to have the branding and the cachet of having this professional tool. Doesn't mean it's going to work right out of the box. You got to have the right sounding studio that sounds great. You do have to have a handle on your noise floor. Can't just rely on plugins. So talk to me. If you're thinking about getting Source Connect, talk to us over at George the Tech, and we'll make sure your audio is what it's supposed to be and where it needs to be, so you can be using Source Connect to bolster your career. Anyway, let's get back to the show here after this message right now.
Is AI coming for your voiceover career? Is it going to take all of your jobs? Man, do we hear that question a lot. And there's a lot of people that are fearful that the answer to that is yes. Well, I've been working in performance and technology simultaneously throughout my career, beginning in the 70s. And I've seen the incursion of technology, both good and bad, and I want you to have the facts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together a course, which I'm going to give away for free. I'm aiming for mid-August or so, talking about synthetic voices and what they mean to your future and your success. So it'll be at voheroes.com. I'll give you details as soon as we're ready to go. I'm David H. Lawrence the 17th. I thank you so much for watching and for listening to VOBS. And stand by. We'll get that course to you very soon.
Hi, this is Bill Farmer, and you are watching VoiceOver Body Shop. It's great.
All right, we're back. This is George and I's favorite part of what we do every other week when we record this show. And that is your questions. If you got a question, throw it in the chat room. We got a few in here, and we're going to run through them and give you the right answers. At least we think they are. Then again, you never know. Starting with Art Needle, who's watching us on YouTube, looking at gear options for a home studio, like the SSL2 interface. Audacity is not compatible, needs an ASIO. Is that necessarily true? Any recommendations for Reaper courses for dummies that are VO specific, not music? Yes, don't use Reaper.
Reaper is not for dummies.
No,
to be
it is
completely
not.
frank.
Nor is it really for voiceover.
Reaper. We have an entire course on using Reaper for VO at georgethe.tech. 4 hours long. It's a lot. I'm telling you, it's a lot. I mean, if you love customization and you're a bit of a geek at heart and you like getting under the hood and making things work the way you want them to work, you're going to love Reaper. If you like tools that are ready to do voiceover work out of the box with minimal configuration, you will not like Reaper at all. So I'm just giving you that straight up. But if you want to learn it, we've got really good content on how to get Reaper up and running.
Right. But the thing is about Reaper, it does not have a good workflow for voiceover.
Not without a lot of work to get it set up to do it.
Exactly. Right. And there are other software platforms you can use. You don't have to set up like that. Things like, well, Twisted Wave, which I understand now has a PC version, since clearly Art is using a PC because it says it needs an ASIO driver.
Right.
So if you really... Go ahead.
I don't know about the whole needing ASIO to use an SSL2 interface My understanding is that the SSL2 is what they call a class compliant USB device, which should mean that if you plug it into your Windows PC, the Windows will say, oh, there's a stereo USB interface. I know what it is. let me set that up using my Magic Windows multimedia sound drivers, so it will just start to magically work in Zoom and Audacity. I think it will do that. You don't necessarily have to have ASIO compatible stuff, or you don't necessarily have to use something other than Audacity. It's the more complex audio interfaces with multiple channels, a console, a control panel, that kind of thing, where you absolutely have to use their proprietary driver and software and ASIO. If anybody can confirm that, please let me know. If you're using an SSL2 on your Windows PC with Audacity, let us know. Put it in the chat down below.
I'm getting a lot of people saying I'm using Reaper. It's like the majority of people, I'm using Reaper. Who is telling people that this is a great piece of software for voiceover unless you actually know what it does and how it does it and when you should use it? You don't need that kind of sophistication, especially if you're just starting out. You don't learn how to drive, a sports car. Here we are with the sports car analysis again, until you really know how to drive. It could be a little scary that way.
Or you don't learn how to build the car that you're going to drive either. If you're a normal person. Some people, there are some weird ones that are out there. Might be like, oh, I won't drive it until I build it. Okay, well, good for you. But the normal world is you go and buy a car that already runs. And this DAW can be built into something powerful, but it takes a lot of time and patience and learning curve to do it.
Wouldn't it be just nice if you just turned on your computer, hit record, and went?
I think if you're a voice actor, that's what you should be looking for. If you are someone that does some very specific parts of like e-learning, or maybe you're working in a very specific industry that has a particular need for the capabilities of Reaper, then that's a unique outlier situation. The vast majority of actors need just clean audio with a very easy to use interface.
I totally agree, and I hate the monochrome VU meter. Something that is a real problem with Reaper, because I'm trying to teach people proper modulation and
green, yellow, red.
Green, yellow, and it all has is green. I suppose you can change the color, but you can't change. It's all still monochrome.
It's not obvious.
It is.
That's the problem. It's just another one of the things that's just not obvious. If you can do it, it's just not clear.
Next question from Ray Valdovinos. I'll bet you I pronounced that right. If you generally keep your computer on all the time, would you suggest turning off the interface's phantom power to the microphone when not recording?
I don't think I would bother. I don't.
Yeah, the phantom power has been on this thing for months, and it still works. You're not gonna. It's designed to take phantom power. That's what it does. And it can do it forever. It's not going to burn out unless you have a tube in there. And this mic doesn't have a tube.
It's a very, very small amount of power, like very, very small amount of current. So it's doing very, very little to the microphone. There's almost zero heat involved. I don't think there is any heat that comes from it because of the power level.
No, it's still cold.
It's not draining power off the grid or adding power to the power bill that you can measure. So yeah, I don't bother. I don't worry about it. I leave mine on essentially all the time.
Right. Does that mean you leave your computer on all the time?
I essentially leave my computer on all the time. I shut it down when I have an issue. If something is acting up or acting funky, then I do a total shutdown, restart, bring it back up again, and get back to work. If I was disciplined, I would probably shut it off on Friday, turn it back on Monday morning, and just leave it on all week. But I don't. I should, but I don't. I leave it on all the time. I turn off the monitors. I have a master switch that shuts off my speakers, the monitors, the lights, one switch. But the computer stays on, keeps right on running.
Depends on how paranoid I'm feeling.
Mm-hmm. Well,
when I leave the studio at night, I'm like, are there Russians listening in?
If your computer's on, it can be accessed. If it's off, it can't. So that's a good point.
Yeah. So, no, it's not going to affect your microphone at all. You get a question from Jeff.
All right, Jeff. Continuing the story, Jeff, do you want to
he can actually ask the question himself.
Yeah, why not?
There
Hey there.
Hey, buddy.
Jeff. How's it going?
Good,
Okay,
man.
so I spoke to ATS and they said that I can hang the cotton batting directly on my wall. Just put some nails directly through the batting through the wall. And my question to you guys is there any kind of like metallic composition for nails that would make it any less reflective or, reverberant?
Unless you're using really, really big nails with really big heads on them.
Yeah.
I
There's such a small cross section. When the sound's hitting that cotton, the nail cross section or surface area is so minuscule compared to the huge surface area of the cotton and stuff.
Okay.
Not a concern. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Like, you're not going to use 100 nails. Please don't use 100 nails. just use maybe 5 or 10, whatever it takes to hang it up so it doesn't sag too much and kind of stays in the shape you want it to be in. It's not all that different from hanging a blanket on the wall, really. And you'll be fine. I wouldn't worry about it at all. And I just use like I don't know if a 10 penny finishing nail makes any sense. Whatever, I can't remember what a 10 penny nail is. But a finishing nail is what I usually use. It just has the very small nail head. And
A finishing nail. Great.
yeah, finishing nails don't have a big flare head. They just have a tiny head. That's the kind of nail that can be finished. Like, it's used for floorboards or wood trim. When you put the nail
Got
in,
it.
the head disappears below the face of the wood.
Yeah,
That's a finishing
okay.
nail. So I use those because you can like put a few nails up in the wall and just literally hang the cotton on it. You just put it right onto the nails,
Cool.
I had
All
to
right,
install.
thanks.
I had to install a studio last week with a bunch of Orlex foam, and it was a closet with a bare wall, and I had these big pieces of Orlex. I used roofing nails because that held it really, really clean, and as long as you pound it into the foam, you can't see it anyway, and it's not Orlex is going to absorb and deflect it anyway.
Yeah, the
So-
Orlex the head of the nail will kind of sink below the surface,
but
even
it
if
holds
it's a
it
roofing
really,
nail.
really tight. So
Yeah.
but a nail head that's that big, you're going to need a sledgehammer for anyway. And
if it's that big.
you don't really want to use those.
Yeah. No, I think
Okay.
the finishing nails work great. It's they're easy to remove later. You can hang it. You can put the nails up, then hang it on the nails. It's very, instead of like holding the material in place with your arm and then holding one nail and then putting it in place. Just put a few nails up on the wall and just stick it right on there. It'll
Oh,
be
I see.
fine.
Because there's no head, it'll just go right on.
Yeah, it's not going to hold it up to the wall like very tightly. Like, you can take it down easily, but it'll hold it fine. I mean, if it falls
Cool.
off the wall, it's not going to hurt anybody. So,
All right,
that's the nice
awesome.
thing. Yeah,
Thank you.
sure.
All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank
All
you.
righty. Next question we have is from Maurice A. Scott. I guess that separates him from the rest of the Maurice Scotts. Anyway, what audio interfaces would you suggest for traveling to use with Mac iOS devices? Well,
Mac
there's a
or
few.
iOS devices. Okay.
Yeah, well, with a Mac, I mean, almost any
Anything.
interface.
Yeah.
It's as long as it's small and portable, or a good USB mic, like we were just saying, the Rode NT1 5th Gen would probably make a really nice travel mic. You just got to set it up right, and again, when you're traveling. One, you're not going to be able to reproduce the sound you have in your home studio. You can do auditions on the road. You can do one and done productions, like if a 30-second commercial or something like that, and it's only going to be on that mic because the difference in sound between wherever you are and where you normally record is going to be very, very different. So get that out of your head that you've got to try to recreate the sound that you have at home. It can't be done. So when you're doing stuff on the road, you're going to be using different stuff. Some people bring the same mic on the road, but the acoustics are going to be totally wrong.
I would definitely not attempt to try to pick up a project.
Oh, no.
Midway. Like, it's just like, I'm going to keep working on that same audiobook while I'm on the road.
Yeah.
Don't even dream of attempting that. That would be a bad idea.
Well, you probably remember 12 years ago when I had that bad infected toe as we were trying to get this show off the ground.
Yeah.
And I had my iPad while I'm sitting there in the hospital for 3 days. And they were like, "Can you insert this word?" And I'm like, maybe. But I did it on my iPad, and it was like one word, and I knew how to futz with it. But
right. But a word or a single line, if you really know what you're doing, you can probably fit that in or edit it in. But yeah, it is absolutely not something to become normalized,
right?
Or normalized, or something that you want to make a use of on a regular basis,
right?
I would say, for traveling. I focus on things that are obviously ultra portable, but I do like the use of shotgun mics for traveling because they do focus in on the voice better. The AT2020, the AT875R, this one here, 875R, under $200, plug it into a USB interface and you have an excellent travel mic. The MicPort Pro 3 is an excellent travel audio interface, especially if you want to plug it into an iPhone because it has a battery, and a battery is required to power the microphone's electronics and the headphone amp and everything else because the iPhone doesn't have the juice or the support to power all that stuff. So you need a battery-powered unit. So if you're really wanting to record a Pro mic into an iPhone or iOS device, you need something like that. It has to have power to work.
Yeah, but don't do it on the road. I mean, there are people that have to do it on the road. If you're just starting out, this is another one of those things like, because they hear people talking about, well, I can record on the road. When you're just starting out, you think you have to do that. Right. Really, the only reason you would record on the road if you're just starting out is if you're doing auditions, and just let people know that this is not what your normal studio sounds like. So you're not really doing yourself any favors trying to record on the road.
It's not a good first impression thing.
No, it's not. So
it's a customer accommodation where you get somebody like an agent or whatever saying, "Can you just get it recorded? I know it's not going to be great, but they just need to hear you." That's a different story. If you're making a first impression with a new client or something from the internet, not a good idea.
No. So don't. You can record on the road. People who do it are very good at it and have lots of practice. It is not something you have to learn right off the top.
It's the black belt of audio recording.
Yeah, it's the black belt with a couple of slashes on it. Anyway, I'll let you read this last one here.
All right, this one's for Dan from Bettina. A few months ago, she says, Dan is great. A few months ago, he helped me put together my studio and helped me with Adobe Audition. I'm not very savvy with technology, and he made it less scary. There's a nice testimonial.
Thank you. You know something? People are totally intimidated by all this stuff because they hear the word computer and program and stuff like that.
And bit rate.
And, and kilobytes per second and all these other things. It's not really that hard. And if you talk to one of us, George or I, we will put you at ease. It's amazing. There's nothing more that makes me happier than when I finish a session with a client and you see them literally go, oh, because if you've been on YouTube, if you've been on Facebook, if you've been asking these questions, you're getting all this different information from different people whose vast experience in home studios is in one studio, their own.
Right. You call that the eureka moment?
Yes.
When they go, oh. Yes.
But also just the relief of getting that boulder off of their shoulders and being so intimidated by it. And I really enjoy that. And we make it very, very simple.
Yeah.
All righty. Thanks for all your questions.
Excellent.
I hope we gave you really good answers. I think we did. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break here, and George and I will be right back to wrap things up for another week here at VoiceOver Body Shop Tech Talk. We'll be right back.
This is the Latin lover narrator from Jane the Virgin, Anthony Mendez, and you're enjoying Dan and George on the VoiceOver Body Shop.
Your dynamic voiceover career requires extra resources to keep moving ahead. There's one place where you can explore everything the voiceover industry has to offer. That place is VoiceOverExtra.com. Whether you're just exploring a voiceover career or a seasoned veteran ready to reach that next professional level, stay in touch with market trends, coaching, products, and services while avoiding scams and other pitfalls. VoiceOver Extra has hundreds of articles, free resources, and training that will save you time and help you succeed. Learn from the most respected talents, coaches, and industry insiders when you join the online sessions, bringing you the most current information on topics like audiobooks, auditioning, home studio setup and equipment, marketing, performance techniques, and much more. It's time to hit your one-stop daily resource for voiceover success. Sign up for a free subscription to newsletters and reports. It's all here at VoiceOverExtra.com. That's VoiceOverExtra.com.
All right, it's time for me to talk about VoiceActor.com. I just scared the crap out of our director. Anyway, VoiceActor.com. These guys right here, VoiceActor.com. What do? They have templated websites. Everybody's intimidated by having to have a website for your voiceover career. You have to have one. You've got to have a footprint on the internet. You've got to have a calling card, and it's all digital, and it's got to be your website. Does your website have to make a great impression? Yeah, pretty much. But what is it that's going to make a great impression? It's going to be easy to use. It's not going to be like all these different menus to listen to different demos and stuff like that. It's simple. Your name, your demos, and your contact information with a nice background. VoiceActor.com has templated websites. So you can go in there and go, oh, I like the way that one looks. Add your picture or whatever it is, your logo, that sort of thing, your contact information. It's a real easy menu, and you can start off for nothing and get your website up in as little as like 20 minutes, as opposed to 6 weeks that your average webmaster is going to take to put things into your website. It's real easy. Afterwards, it's $20 a month for you to be on the internet with your own URL and all those things. And, of course, all the maintenance that they provided, VoiceActor.com. So go on over to VoiceActor.com. There they are right there. And get your templated website put together right now.
We are the World Voices Organization,
also known as WOVO. We're the not-for-profit industry association of freelance voice talent. VoiceOver is a complex entrepreneurial business.
WOVO is there to promote the professional nature of voice work to the public, to those already established in their voiceover practice,
and to those who want to pursue voiceover as a career.
Membership benefits include
a supportive and creative community,
a profile and demos on voiceover.biz, our searchable directory of vetted professional voice talent,
our exclusive demo player for your personal website,
our mentoring program, business resources, and our video library,
our annual WovoCon conference, a fun and educational weekend with other members with the chance to learn and network,
webinars and great speakers, and weekly social chats with other members around the world.
If your world is voiceover,
make WOVO part of it. World Voices Organization.
We speak
for those
who speak for a living.
This is Bill Ratner, and you're enjoying VoiceOver Body Shop with Dan Leonard and George Whittam. VOBS.TV.
All right, we're back. You know, if you're, if you watch our show in replay, every other Monday night we record an interview that we run all week, and then next week we run Tech Talk. But on the Monday nights that we do it every other Monday night, you can join us live like you are right now if you're watching us live. And it gets you put front of the line. If you got a question, of course, you can always write in your question and watch the show later on at your leisure, which is just fine and dandy. But we like having a live audience, so see if you can make it in here when you get notification that we're going to be on. Anyway, next week on this very show, we'll have another guest, and we'll be talking about something absolutely fascinating. And we'll tell you about it when we find out who that guest is going to be. Because we're asking a lot of people, and, we're getting them all organized.
Everybody's in France.
Why are they all in France? Because they're
I don't know. Everybody's
they're avoiding
traveling to
the
Europe.
picket lines in Hollywood.
Or maybe that's it. They're like, well, now that I don't have to work, I'm going to France.
Yeah, and of course
or Portugal.
Right, and of course we send out our support to all our friends who are on strike there with SAG-AFTRA,
Absolutely.
and because as long as they're working, we're working.
That's right. Stay strong, you guys.
All right, yeah. All right, we need to talk to thank our donors of the week, like Greg Cooper,
Grace Newton,
Christopher Epperson,
Robert Leadham,
Stephen Chandler,
Casey Clack,
Jonathan Grant,
Thomas and Pinto.
Thomas and Pinto. You mean Tom Pinto?
Jonathan Grant, Thomas and Pinto, Gregorin Thomas.
Dr. Voice.
Antland Productions.
Martha Kahn.
949 Designs.
Sarah Borges.
Philip Sapir.
Brian Page.
Rob Ryder.
Shauna Pentington Baird.
Don Griffith.
Trey Mosley. Yay, Trey.
Dana Birdsall.
Maria Marcus. And
Sandra
Manwiller. Yeah, you can donate to the show. If you feel you're getting some value from us every week, if you go to our VOBS.TV page, there's a little tab there that says donate. And you can send us whatever you want to send us. As little as $25
one
a day.
time. You can send $100 a month. We'll take it.
We will not complain. But trust me, you're getting more value than that just by watching this show every week, which is good. We need to plug ourselves because, by the way, this show is about shameless promotion, especially for George's and my business. So if you need help with your home voiceover studio and you want to talk to us personally, one-on-one, get it sounding the way you want, you can join me over at homevoiceoverstudio.com. And George has his legendary, multifaceted website, which is
GeorgeThe.tech or GeorgeTheTech.com. If that still messes with your head, either one will work. Come on over and see us. And by the way, the show about shameless promotion, this must have been the first night in a long time where the guest on
wasn't
the
promoting
prior
anything.
segment had absolutely nothing to promote. And not only that, doesn't want you to know who he is or how to find him.
Yeah,
So that was a different kind of a guest for us. Anyway, yeah. And if you want to find some deals, head over to georgethe.tech/VOBS. That's the landing page, and I'll put promotions up there for just you, our fans. Thank you.
All righty. Well, we need to thank our sponsors. Without this show would not be possible. Would have ended 11 and a half years ago.
Yeah, probably.
This isn't paying for itself anyway. Harlan Hogan's VoiceOver Essentials.
VoiceOver Extra.
I'm just I'm off the page. Source Elements.
VOHeroes.com.
VoiceActor.com and WorldVoices.org, the Industry Association of Freelance Voice Talent. Join today. We got lots of great stuff for you. Big thanks to Jeff Holman in the chat room tonight, getting all those questions to us and all those comments, which was great. Sue Merlino hanging out there in her place, just pushing buttons and making us do all sorts of funny things like single shots and double shots and triple shots. And
switching our positions.
No. And putting up the bottom thirds and all that. So we really appreciate that, Sue. And of course, Lee Penny, just for being Lee Penny. Look, guys, we know this is not an easy business, especially right now with so many people getting in it. What's going to make you different? What is your competitive point of difference? What's going to make you unique? Having really good sound is really important because it will allow people to highlight that what is different about you. And it won't be because they can't hear you because your audio is not very good.
Right.
But the bottom line really is, if it sounds good,
it is good.
I'm Dan Leonard.
And I'm George Whittam.
And this is VoiceOver
Body Shop.
Or VOBS Tech Talk.
Tech Talk.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.